Last week, I finished reading the book of Genesis. Now, Genesis has the most familiar stories in the Old Testament. Most of us grew up hearing about the creation of the world and Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Noah, the Tower of Babel, and Joseph and his coat of many colors. Fisher Price even made a toy ark with the animals, and there was a play on Broadway about Joseph and his colorful coat. Unfortunately, many people believe that these accounts are nothing more than stories, fairy tales of the Bible, if you will. Well, today we're going to examine the consequences of such thinking. First of all, how did we come to the conclusion that many of the stories of the Old Testament are fictional stories? Usually, it's because we don't understand how these things could happen. But just because we do not understand something does not make it fiction. In my case, if I used that standard, the list would be very long. There are many things I do not understand, but they are true. Gravity would be one. Electrons would be another. How about how a baby learns to roll over or crawl or stand up and walk without being shown how to do it? These would all be on my list. While none of us can understand how God could speak things into existence without material to create them, it does not mean that it did not happen. God was quite clear when he addressed Job that Job was not there at creation, nor did he have the power over nature that God has. Questions. Did a serpent really speak to Eve? Did Cain really kill Abel over a sacrifice gone wrong? How did Noah get 2 of every kind of animal into the ark? How do we determine what is fact and what are fairy tales? It gets pretty complicated. When Jesus told a story to teach a point, Scripture tells us it was a parable and usually tells us the meaning, the explanation of the parable or story. Otherwise, Scripture is a recording of what actually happened. God did not give us Scripture to confuse us. The greatest danger in picking and choosing what to believe as fact from Scripture is this. If parts of the foundation are not true or allegories, what about Jesus? Was he really born to Mary and Joseph? Or is that a New Testament Adam and Eve story? Did he really heal people? Feed 5,000 people from 5 loaves and 2 fish? Talk about unbelievable. Did he raise Lazarus from the dead? Really unbelievable. Was he resurrected from the dead? Is Jesus who the disciples saw after his resurrection, or a figment of their imagination? Maybe these were just memories of Jesus as the disciples sat around reminiscing and hoping against hope that he wasn't really dead. Do you see how dangerous this can be? How do you know what parts to believe? How do you tell your children? Well, Noah's Ark was a fairy tale, but Jesus, he was real. God couldn't really create the world in 7 days out of nothing, but he could raise Jesus from the dead. Why is one part true and not the other? It's easy for me. 2 Timothy 3:16 tells us that all Scripture is God-breathed. If the accounts in the Bible were different than what was recorded, why weren't they recorded how they happened? What purpose would God have in making up stories? Just as in constructing a building, if the foundation is shaky, the top floors will not be supported and will not stand. We could be called foolish. We could be called childish. It could be said that we've oversimplified it all. Or we could be called a people of faith in the Lord of the universe. It's up to us. And that, my friends, is this week's Time Out Tuesday. And I do hope to see you all next week. God bless you all.